Hello and welcome to the Book by Book, a podcast about the odd book or two we've read. I'm your host Scott and I'm not alone, Toby's here too. This episode we're talking about Holly by Stephen King. It's going to be a fairly spoiler heavy episode, so if that's okay with you, continue on and I'll see you on the other side. Is that the right term? Like I was listening to one of our old episodes, and I think I was listening to that Christmas episode. To the editing. I can talk really fast for long periods of time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get you to just go like that. If you feel like I'm just like...
slow it down.
Because for little bursts, I thought that's okay, but it's like, I haven't stopped. It makes it a really tiring way to listen.
Right.
Like, God, this guy won't stop and catch his breath.
Breathe.
So I'm going to get you to like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And
I'll try.
Slow down a little. Slow down. Chill out. Have a bit of. I will not have a bit of decaf coffee maybe today.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Drinking a coffee.
It's a nice cup.
Oh, thank you. A present, like a stone. I've been looking for one for ages. Like
really nice.
Unglossed was really for some reason.
Matte.
Just untreated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like stone. I'm trying to like get into more of the ceremony of making a coffee. That sounds too over the top now because I can't think of the word I'm looking for. But like the like a nice morning process, kind of. You know, I've got like one of those little Maletti things. I've got a little stick to shake it. I want to get one of those press things. They squash it down.
A stick to shake it. You like a spoon?
No, it's like it's just like a tiny metal brush.
Right.
It's only a few dollars. If you watch like swanky YouTube videos about how to make the perfect coffee.
Okay. Noticeably different. Is your sticks come spoon brush?
Oh, it's like wood.
Bringing an added.
Oh no, it's just the ceremony of it all, like the ritual. I guess I just wanted to.
I kind of want you to have one of those big, those hanging discs that you hit with a
gong.
With a sort of gong.
I'm heading that way, mate. If I can get a place that's big enough. I was looking at coffee grinders.
Coffee time.
Because I was looking at grinders, and then it was like, that one's nice, and then it just escalated into like, well, I might as well get the nicest one, and it's like, well, that's ridiculous. That's taking up valuable kitchen space we don't have. Something I probably won't use that much.
Next up will be cold brew.
Yeah, I mean, come winter, it's kind of nice.
Everything that's involved in creating a cold brew.
I guess
it's going to be like Breaking Bad in your kitchen soon, just for coffee.
I guess I wanted to slow myself down in the morning, like take the time to enjoy the coffee rather than just
smell the roses,
smack it on. I'm already working, checking emails.
Yeah,
kinda. Yeah,
I'm with you.
I'm very big on like my New Year's resolution things for about 2 weeks. And we're coming up to 2 weeks, so I can put all this crap away now.
Have you? So, what are your other than?
There's a few. They're all quite easy, simple ones. I definitely find the ones where I'm not doing something are easier than the ones to do something. So one is just no phone in bed.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
I've missed a few alarms as a result because it's literally not. I don't want to bring it into the bedroom.
Right.
And it took me a while to just like, well, what am I going to do? Because I don't go to sleep straight away. So I'm just reading.
Yeah.
Arguably, it's worse because I read longer than I watch YouTube video. But I think at the time I was just getting used to it. Now I'm getting a bit better at just getting into bed and going to bed.
Have you got an alarm clock?
No.
Have you got like a Google Assistant?
What's that? On my Siri?
No, Siri, but like Google's version of it, or
no. It's I just had to like readjust my alarm. It was just something I was sleeping through when it wasn't in the room.
Oh right, okay, fair.
Yeah.
I use Google every night. Hey Google, sorry, she's listening, always listening. And then I ask her to do something, and she'll do it. Probably just pipe up in a minute.
Nice. I kind of want to dive into this book, but I know that over Christmas you and how old's your kid?
Lana is 13.
Watched Die Hard for the first time for her. I really want to dive into that.
Yeah.
But how about we come back to that at the end?
Okay.
So because we'll have one of those long intros. So let's
stick with us to the end to find out what Lana thought of Die Hard. There's your little...
That's a tie-in to Stephen King's Holly.
Holly, his latest book.
And
the 6th book in the can of Holly.
That's the three.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Outside. I always forget about Outsider for some reason.
Yeah. So yeah, the three Mercedes trilogy books, and then Outsider, If It Bleeds, short story, and then this one, Holly, which is the most Holly-centric one, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. How you want to start this one?
Well, for those that I guess it came out in September last year, so it's quite old. But it took me a while to get through it. It's not for any reason other than I had a lot going on, and it was difficult to focus on that. But I got to the end. I've made it to come out the other end, the other side. So a brief overview of what Holly is about. Holly Gibney. Is that how you say it? Gibney?
I think so.
Yeah. One of Stephen King's most compelling and ingenious, resourceful characters returns in this thrilling novel to solve the gruesome truth behind multiple disappearances in a Midwestern town. So, and that's pretty much it. Sums it up brilliantly, I think. There are a lot of things I say a lot of things. There are a few key things that can be unpacked in this. And a lot of those were, when we do the positives and negatives of reviewers and what they thought the general public have thought.
The Toby's Roundup review.
Yeah, that's it. Roundup review. Sorry, it's been a while. I'm a bit out of practice. Roundup review. I do have a few of them. Some of them not massively long, but a bit longer than normal. So I'll go with the positives. Kev, this is all from Goodreads. This was fracking great story. Nice. The king of horror is now nailing it as the king of crime thrillers too.
Oh, big words.
Indie Flower, that's a username. I absolutely love the premise of this. People disappearing without a trace, with apparently harmless old couple at the centre of it all. What a great pair of unlikely villains. Genius. Some reviewers haven't taken kindly to all the COVID content here. And yes, there is a lot. But it's set during the pandemic, so it's to be expected. Also, Holly is not only a germaphobe, but an absolute stickler for rules. So of course she's going to be masked up wearer, and an elbow bumper. Not sure why some folk get hung up on all that. After all, that's how it was in everyone's thoughts, conversations, and dominating the news, etc. So I guess if mention of vaccines, masks, social distancing, and other COVID shenanigans get you frothing at the mouth, maybe give this one a miss. For me, it was a cracking read with excellent pacing. The story didn't lag once. Kind of funny, kind of gruesome. It was good to visit Holly again. Oh, and I can't end without mentioning the gorgeous cover, a thing of beauty. 5 shiny stars.
Nice. I certainly have to agree with her on the cover. I think I've been a bit poo-pooey of his covers recently. Billy Summers and If It Bleeds. I think it's the same artist, but I think it definitely doesn't. I haven't checked it. I don't have my copy anymore. I had a library copy. Is it glow in the dark? I've been told that the light sources, the edge lamp, to the two windows of the cover are kind of like mildly glow in the dark.
Yeah, I've not noticed that. That's quite cool though. Rachel, just when you think you've seen the worst human beings have to offer, you find out you're wrong. There is no end to evil. Some characters and settings in a story are the equivalent of a cozy blanket. That is what this book felt like to me. Comforting yet horrifying in equal measure. Be forewarned, if you think you've seen some outlandish dietary plans, just wait till you meet Emily and Rodney Hack. That's it for the positives.
That kind of hits the nail on the head for me with this is King doing cozy blanket.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel with it. Yeah, negatives. Debbie Y. So Debbie, Stephen King used Holly as a vehicle to shove his political views down the reader's throat.
Okay, yeah.
Mind you, I enjoy the blend of politics in fiction when it's done with good taste and expands the mind. Most importantly, I respect other people's rights to think and see things differently. However, I was disappointed to find that Stephen King has failed to do the same by pointing his finger at people who think differently than him. The audacity, the excessive mentions of COVID, vaccines, masks, and the representation of those against it as the root of all evil made it impossible for me to show a fragment of appreciation towards what could have been a barely mediocre detective thriller, yet ended up being a slow, toothless, formulated, preachy reading experience. The unnecessary constant mention of COVID has served no purpose whatsoever to the plot of this book. In my opinion, it did the exact opposite. It buried it. Holly's character, who once held a spark which I quite liked in King's previous works, had been assassinated by her very own maker. King has turned her into an intolerant, judgmental hypochondriac. Certain revelations regarding the villains from the get-go made the plot become even more mind-numbing and oh so predictable. This book exhausted my patience sorely and made me roll my eyes one too many times. It was the first time I've ever wanted to abandon a book by Stephen King before reaching halfway through it. Yet I decided to finish it in the hope it would get better. It didn't.
But I want to know how many she's read. She's done well. This is the first one she's going to abandon. That's so like, she's on a good streak.
The Loco Librarian, DNF, in capital letters, did not finish. The first Stephen King book I have ever had to set down. First of all, please note, I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I have read over half of his published works. Love his writing, characters, and stories. Holly was my favourite character. I was so excited for this book. However, this book is so chock full of blatant disrespect for people who have certain political views. Now, hear me out. I don't care what your political stance is, but let's be clear on one thing. I will not tolerate disrespect. I don't care what party you classify as or which candidate you vote for. I don't agree with disrespecting either or any side. That is wrong for anyone to do. Honestly, man, this is supposed to be a work of fiction, for crying out loud. I came here for imagery, characters, events, etc., not to relive the VID or deal with political jabs at parties and individuals we disagree with. I'm here to escape reality, not to hear more hate and disunity.
Interesting.
Yes.
I think, was there one of, what's the one with Mr. Harrigan's phone? What was that compilation called? Was that the If It Bleeds book?
Yes.
Something in there, I remember you, like, one of them, maybe even If It Bleeds, got political. And I think I said, I didn't mind too much because it was short, but I remember you saying, similar to this guy, not with the venom, but like, I want to escape modern politics. Set it back in another era and talk about Tricky Dicky. Sure, I can handle that. But we're in modern times dealing with stuff we're still reeling from or dealing with. And it's not quite the escapism we would wish for.
No, I largely agree with him. I got one more. It's quite a short one from Helga. She basically says, Helga. I've shortened it down, but King goes against his own golden rules. And, well, he over-explains and repeats everything. He mentions masks, COVID, sanitizer, elbow salute, vaccinations, and double vaccinations so many times, you feel like you're reading a guidebook on how to prevent catching COVID. The terrible consequences if you don't wear a mask.
I mean, before we go forward,
where do you stand on that?
I think it's worth stating to the listener, we're English. I mean, I live in Canada, but we're from England. And I do think, I don't know, America seems to have its own kind of bubble. I always find it strange how, like, they're always like America is sort of seen as like the pinnacle of Western civilization, or it has been in the past, right? That's why news from America, like, they're sort of setting the standard, like their politics dominate global headlines. I don't know if people in England, Canada are sort of reading about China's political state as much as they are America. Okay, that's different because where we're based, but you see what I mean, right? Like, why are they, okay, they're being a-holes.
Why do we care about what they're doing?
Right. It's just, it is worth saying we're not from there. I guess I was reading the very back of Stephen, the book. And he does talk about it. I don't know if that's worth reading out as well. But I guess he feels like he's in a country where probably he feels like half of the country was anti-vax, anti-mask.
Well, the half that, as he likes to put it, voted for Trump, probably.
But I guess it's such a inflammatory, coming from England, we as a nation voted out of
Yeah.
the European nation. And it was very easy for people to say, if you did that, you're probably a racist. And it just wasn't the case. People were clearly misled. Some people had different agendas. I just don't think it's as simple as saying, caught you, England, half of you are racist.
Yeah, no.
I just don't. I think
not.
it's deeper and more than that. And so I don't know. I don't want to get ourselves on the political spectrum, but I kind of assume the same with America. Like it, because it came down to Hillary and Trump. And I know a lot of people who basically have said, I hate Trump, but I'm not voting for Hillary.
Because she eats bacon.
Like I hate her. Right? Like, but out of conspiracy, like she's Trump's vile on the face of it. She's vile. She's just a sneaky doors, politician. Yeah. Right.
She's a Stephen King villain. She is Emily.
So, right. So it came down to like it seemingly from the headlines, the very, and again with very hyperbole headlines, the rest of the world in this day and age. Like,
do you know what?
Did you vote Trump? Oh, okay, you're racist. Did you not vote Hillary? What a sexist! Like,
do you know what? Do you not see do you not think there are extreme similarities between Emily and Trump?
And Trump?
No, Emily and Hillary and Rodney and Trump. If you was to take those two characters and plant their personalities onto Emily and Rodney, you would end up with a bumbling idiot who is very opinionated and is loud and brash and talks about his thoughts and beliefs in lectures and talks to the masses and tries to sway and have his opinion put in lights and paper. And Emily is behind closed doors, closet racist, eats the babies, drinks the blood.
That was literal.
Yeah. It's that's what I tell you.
I'm not gonna lie.
If I ever get into a room,
I'll have to have a think on that one.
If I ever get into a room with them, I'm going to ask him if they were influenced or inspired by the two political parties they hated the most.
Certainly, I guess, like the whole lizard thing, the conspiracy behind it, or as it were. I guess maybe we can just get that in and out of the way. Our thoughts on how this dealt with COVID. What are your thoughts on the political side of COVID?
I think he, like you say, in the bit at the end of the book where he addresses the fact that there are a lot of people that will find this polarizing, but he also counters that by saying he feels if Holly had been the opposite, he would have represented her fairly in that respect as well, rather than he chose for her.
She is OCD.
She is OCD. She has been somebody that worries about the smallest minutiae of things. And she has been that way since the beginning. She was crippled by this in the first book to the point where she was almost just terrified to look up.
Right. That's her journey, her mum.
Yeah. So I believe that it's fair and representative of Holly as a character. Does it need to be spoken about in every single meeting between people? That's the area I struggle with. It is set during COVID, so yes,
I'd say the aftermath, right? Sorry, you go. I'll bring that up in my point.
I think it's in the height of. I think it's 2020
because everyone's free, right? There's no lockdown. I guess I don't know how America dealt with the lockdown.
No,
everyone's running around, right? There's no curfew.
Yeah, there's no curfew. I think
it's after the vaccine.
The vaccines are out.
A year and a half in, 2 years in.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I don't necessarily think it needed to be every meeting you had a mention of it.
I think one of the reviews I read said, who met someone and talked about what vaccine you had.
Yeah, that did feel a bit
Who did that,
Yeah. But maybe that was something that was a conversation everybody had. I don't know. I didn't. I probably did have it a couple of times, but it wasn't every meeting.
Certainly not with strangers. Certainly not if I was meeting someone whose child had died. I guess you could, you know what? This brings me back to The Outsider. I was like, what? She's meeting people whose child has been like raped and murdered. And she's like, hi, how are you? I watched Citizen Kane last night. Oh, that's a good film. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, you're like, that's Holly.
Yeah.
I guess the fixation comes to front of her. So you could argue, maybe that she would do that. Like, it's her way of finding out if they're vaccinated.
Yeah.
You could argue. It's not a good argument, but you could.
Yeah, could. So yes, I did find it a bit heavy-handed at times, but not to the point where I wanted to put the book down or did not finish. What about you?
Effing do something with it, King. You just said it in COVID times to not deal with it. Okay, this isn't a spoiler for Billy Summers, but we get one line in there and it says, little did they know in 8 months, America would be locked down due to some new pandemic. And I thought, oh, cool. And it's about sort of a hitman. And I thought, okay, like that's interesting because he's on the run and it's suddenly the country's locked down. That's kind of interesting. Doesn't come back in the book.
Right.
What okay. You could say it's a throwaway line, like he was just writing it when it was all kicking off. Fine. But that was like a sort of anti-Chekhov's gun to me. Like, oh, I thought we would go there.
Yeah.
So, Holly, etc. in the pandemic. Okay. A detective novel where you can't go out and you're locked down and you have to, I thought it was going to be dealing with the fact she would have to sneak out and she would have to go against the law to get stuff done.
That would have been a better, well, maybe not better use, but a definitely
interesting.
It would have
a reason to set it in the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone dealt with the pandemic their own way, and maybe it's just King's of like his anxiety was just I'll ride it out. But I don't know, just to come after it like that, it was just it. If you stripped away the pandemic from this book, I wouldn't really have missed a beat. If Holly's ma had have died of cancer and she was a heavy smoker, you could have got the same effects through.
Yeah, really? the COVID didn't bring anything to it. It had no part
just
in the story other than
his own demons, or his own thoughts on other people's demons. So I just like instantly was like, okay, maybe we'll get flashbacks to something and the lockdown, because that's the only thing that interests me when I hear something set in the lockdown is people deal like, okay, interesting, an action novel in a world where no one can go outside and you're not supposed to breathe each other's air. Well, not an action novel, but like this would have been a prime example of like, the ingenuity of like trying to armchair detective. When my mind was raced when I first heard the concept, I thought it was going to be like she's locked in a house share and something's going on and there's already COVID paranoia.
Yeah.
No.
No. For me, it felt odd that I've always read Holly stories, and yes, they're kind of set in the real world, but they would never been present day. They just exist in a
kind of in their own universe now.
This brings me on to my next point. Let's move to the next point. This is not so much of a problem, but just a missed opportunity. Subplots. You'd feel like COVID could have been a subplot to it all, but it wasn't really. It was just a thing that was happening that was in the environment that she was solving the case in. A lot of the subplots in this book mainly pertaining to Barbara and Jerome, they brushed up against the central story, but never really intertwined themselves in any way other than to serve. What did I write here? I wrote subplots only brushed up against the main plot and served as annoying story tension builders.
Oh, yeah.
I.e., missed calls, distracted.
Oh, I see.
Smaller subplots. The things that they were doing became reasons why Holly found herself in predicaments or wasn't able to get answers quick enough, and that sort of thing. They didn't really do anything other than that. And normally, those things intertwine quite a lot more and have more.
Someone's calling with information. Yeah, a lot of that, I guess. Yeah, no, fair enough, I guess. There was something I actually quite enjoyed about this. I know, like, for example, Fairy Tale, it was like the beginning is so separate from when the thing kicks off. It's like you just got carried away with that intro.
Yeah.
But it was sort of the nicest part of the book in Fairy Tale. It just was like, we didn't need all that. That thing where writers are like, create a backstory for your character. Well, what was his favorite band when he was in college? You don't need to put this in the novel. It's just good to know. And King kind of put it all in the novel. But in this case, like, I don't know. Like it was that some of the nicest stuff was for me catching up with Jerome and Barbara and seeing what they, and especially to give Barbara sort of came not full circle, but
yeah, totally. She grew up.
yeah, it was just sort of nice to see in a natural way. I still think none of them are shell shocked enough. They should all be a bit more messed up considering what they've dealt with and seen. The psychological, the Cthulhu, the Cthulhu of it all would send you into a mental asylum, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, Barbara definitely has some, he does touch on her post-traumatic with Ototeki, the guy that got pushed down the lift in If It Bleeds. Spoiler there for If It Bleeds. Yeah. Yeah. So they didn't impact the greater plot enough for me, other than to be Holly didn't get the information that could have got it to decisions and to the bad guys quicker, basically.
Yeah, no, fair enough. He's done it again because everyone says that he's the martyr of crime and suspense. He just made that decision for what feels like the 5th or 6th time to me to just tell us who the killers are.
Right at the beginning, straight up.
Pretty early on. There's not really about the suspicion. It's not a whodunit in any way.
No.
To the
No,
point
it's definitely not a whodunit. It's more about how, not even a how did they do it. It's just how are we going to find out how to catch them. It's
felt quite lazy this time. I'm not going to lie.
Right. Okay.
Because he's done that with every single one of the Mercedes books. We knew what was going on. The outsider fairly early on. We get points of view from the outsider. It's I think so. Maybe not so much on that one. That one seems like the standout and separate enough thing.
Definitely.
The outsider. I just feel like he approached it with a completely different tone.
That is exactly what I think my biggest problem with this book was. I wrote here, I found it to be safe. After Holly's previous cases, this felt a lot smaller in scope, more of a side project than a full adventure, and it lacked the supernatural element.
Now,
it's something that's been prevalent in all of her investigations. There's been a supernatural element. This one didn't have that, and it lacked for that.
See, it's tricky. You're, for example, a huge fan of the Transformers franchise. And let's say the Marvel Universe. But the law is, for a sequel, you have to up the stakes. The first one was saving a person, the second one a town, the third one the world, the fourth one the universe. And the more you keep going, it's just like where we are with the state of, for example, Marvel now. It's like, geez, we're just saving the world all the time. It's like you can do a smaller personal story. And that's so I kind of made my peace that this was going to be smaller, and I think I liked it for that.
Okay.
Like I didn't want it to be bigger than any of your other ones because it's just ludicrous. It's like when Keith Sutherland left the 24, it's like, Jesus, how many bad days can a guy have in a row? If you're going to keep going, you have to change something, or it just becomes
definitely.
And outside of the outsider, I think the supernatural was my least favorite aspects of say End of Watch.
Right.
That was like the least favorite thing for me, and it was Keely about that.
Yes, definitely.
So I was kind of happy. I guess I don't want
too far
Holly to become a Ghostbuster, where she's literally calling for paranormal stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I totally see what you mean. Like the stakes are kind of low, which sounds brutal to say. Like, well, people are dying left, right, and center in horrible, horrible ways. But it seems like.
But again, a lot of that happens off camera. You don't really get the gore of it, I guess.
No.
Saying there wasn't anything. Like the central conceit of what they're doing with their victims is horrific. But
see, I thought on that side of the horrors that he kept his distance enough so that when there was a passage, it was brutal, and it went from something that you're kind of going, this is a bit kind of ludicrous, this is maybe a bit cliche, okay, blah blah blah. But then when you're in it, when you're in that room with the victims
in the cage,
and I'm literally we're in there a few times, I'm thinking, oh, they featured this character enough that I think Holly's like it's going to climax with Holly saving this character.
Yes.
And then the slow dawn of no, no, this character's not going to make it, and there's nothing they can do. They know there's nothing they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this like the little just a page was
Yeah.
enough to go, okay, yep, he's done well there. The boy done well. His
Mm-hmm.
horror, his best of his horror writing, snuck into this non-horror novel
Mm-hmm.
to make it like the crime is brutal enough, and I'm it's frustrating that these old people are witty enough and smart enough
Yeah.
to be able to do this. Because once
Yeah.
they got you in their little Venus flytrap, you're just
Again.
wriggling with no cards to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was
That's
kind
very
of that
true.
was like what was the most scary about it, but in a
Mm.
very brutal, real world way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely the real worldness.
I wonder if he has dealt, I think, with a bit of what do they call it, Wendigo before? Like,
Mm-hmm.
was there a point where actually these old people with degenerative diseases are eating people to stay young and it's working?
The
Was at one
placebo
point
effect.
he thinking it was young people, and
Mm.
then like, oh, someone looked at them and they suddenly looked 100 years old, and the people
Mm.
scurried off and they had to go and eat someone. Was where we're going to switch back round to the vampirism
Mm.
that works, as it were? I wonder if that almost came up at some point, but he's done
Yeah,
it a few times maybe.
he has. Yeah, yeah. What did you think of them as villains, though?
I thought they were great.
Mm.
I kind of liked them. Heavy-handed, not to go back to the COVID thing again, but it's like we don't need someone to be a racist to not like them. But it's like we don't need them to be Trump supporters to be villains. We
No.
don't need them to be, and we could already not like them. We don't need them to be racist.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just feels easy. How do
Mm.
we get someone? How do we get across that someone's vile and unlikable?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just make them make a racist comment.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. He's done it before with
But again, this goes
Brady.
back.
Brady did that, and it just
Yeah.
felt a bit almost uncharacteristic. Like you just said, here's a racist. He said racist things, but then it didn't. Maybe I didn't want it to go into detail in the mind of
Mm.
a racist, but it didn't really further anything that he was a racist. Or it's not like, oh, we found out he's like part of the National Front or something. It was just he's vile. He thinks vile things. That's all
Mm.
you need to know.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
True.
nuance is
I
stripped
think,
a bit.
but again, it goes back to what you were saying at the beginning about us being English. I think possibly it does anyway. That is a very much an American cultural thing, isn't it? There is strong levels of racism, deep rooted levels in American culture and history, more so than there is maybe in England. Although there are racists in England, I'm not saying there isn't. So maybe that is why an American novelist features that quite heavily, because it
Yeah.
features quite heavily in society.
I mean, I guess he's certainly done it many times in the past, right? He's
In
definitely
almost
like,
all of his books, there's been some form of
literally
racist
in
character.
his earlier years, he's definitely being accused of like using I think he uses the N word a fair amount. I think it definitely pops up in this book. Not that it's particularly out of place. It's like I'm writing a racist.
Yeah, no, she is. Yeah, just I quite liked the closet hatred that is it Emily has, and the way that it comes up in her diaries, and there's just like entire pages of just repeated sentences,
outbursts like the seven diary, as it were.
Yeah, that was very.
I guess it's that realization that she's unhinged because they're so pieced together and they have such good personal persona. They're so well received in their society. I think that's what I liked about them the most was like because they were ailing in health. The guy, physically and mentally,
Yes,
and the woman had sclerosis. No, what did she have?
Yeah,
she had
sciatica.
Sciatica. They just had to. I guess I really liked that side. It was 100%. It's just like it's not about brawn in any way, as they have proven. You can just outwit. Brings me on to my next case of point. He's really contemplating age and death. I guess he always have. He's a horror writer. People are always dying, but coming off If It Bleeds and now into this, and having seen that interview where he said like that what he fears the most about getting old and age, like it's definitely pouring out of him. Every character in every way, not in a bad way at all. It's all he's one of those people where it's like,
Right, what you know.
Yeah, but it's just super interesting to see what he's reflecting on. If you look at what's the one with the cat, Pet Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you look back at when it was written and how long he was married, etc., it's
Yeah.
okay. He's literally pouring out Stephen King's thoughts on marriage and relationships, not necessarily the character's thoughts. Or he's not crowbarring, but like this is a vehicle for his thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And some editors
What it's like to be a new parent and the responsibilities that come with parenthood and all of those sorts of things, the horrors of what could happen if you take your eye off of your child for 1 second.
And he can be sometimes a bit blunt with that. I don't think we've done the Lewis Claiborne, but I remember some passages where like feeling this does not add up. This is Stephen King having a thought he wants in the book. It doesn't fit because it's a pure character POV, that book. So suddenly this character is going, I remember studying Shakespeare and Greek mythology in school. And I remember this quote. I'm like, I don't know if that ties in with that character, King. I think you've had a really good thought that you want to tie in, but it doesn't, but you're going to clunk it in anyway. But so in this book, certainly a lot. But I guess having these two villains, who they are and what they are, there's also a sneaky, don't write off old people. Like they are still cunning. They're still sharp. Don't just, that's their power is almost hiding in plain sight and being very, you'd look at them and say, nah. Like I watched that Clint Eastwood film not too long ago, The Mule, where he just becomes a drug runner.
Yeah.
And most of that was because he was just the most unassuming, just like an old white guy who just he was like a plant guy, so he was already going to and fro Mexico and America all the time. And assuming that the film is close to true events, it was like, I don't even need to hide the drugs, just chuck them in the back and chuck a cloth over them because it's just my disguise is just my place in society, as it were. Got away with it for a hell of a long time. It was, and even in this, Holly is literally suspects them as accomplices and not the main people. She's like, no way it could be them. I think they have a son. It must be someone younger doing this. And that was kind of nice. To sort of like, God, they're just not suspects. They're so suspicious, but it can't be them. How can these two old people, one wheelchair bound, I guess we don't know about the degenerative mental state of the guy, but still an old guy.
I did like that whole section at the end where he goes off by himself to just walking Rodney, and he sat by the lake and he can hear the fanfare where Barbara is with the funeral for Olivia and all of that sort of thing. He's just mulling and losing his mind and grasping at things, and then they drift off again. And so that was really nice.
I think those are definitely things that keep Stephen King awake. That fear of unfocusedness and mental duration.
Another thing that I really liked about this book was I enjoyed the investigating. The picking at the threads and seeing where they led, and the way that Holly just thought about things and pieced it all together and brought to conclusions. How doing one thing with one person led her to look into the bowling team, which led her to sending a photo to Barbara, and then Barbara replying with which one, and all of those sorts of elements. The actual investigating that I really did enjoy. Going down that, walking in her boots as well.
This feels like probably the smartest as far as detective thinking goes.
Yes, that's exactly.
Like I remember Mr. Mercedes feeling a bit blunt and a bit, let's just get a hacker in and they can just literally extract information that says bump, bump, bump. Like, okay, you didn't figure that out. You just blipped it. Outside is pretty good, but that's like it's kind of in its own world, I guess that. And a couple of themes that felt reoccurring in this one was from the outsider, the grief mob. It was really nice to catch up with the family of the victims, especially those that didn't even know they just went missing and they didn't know. And is it Jerome deals with the woman who is just like on the face of it, okay, something's a bit unnerving with her. She's a bit wrecked, and then finding out she's a complete wreck as a result. That was super. I don't know, quite powerful stuff, I thought.
It was nice that he went back and she got herself a bit together, but it was sad that
a bit of hope.
the news that might push her back the other way. I thought that was a nice warming moment.
I guess certainly needing that, if she's going to have a chance thing, closure.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I guess all the way back from probably Finders Keepers was that you see Holly follow her gut. Her mind will literally say, this probably isn't anything. I think I'm chasing the wrong path here. But I'm going to look into it anyway because something's telling me to. And that's that thing that Bill Hodges is always saying, like 90% of the time it's wrong, but for that 10%, follow your gut always, because the 10% that will uncover might change everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked a little Bill Hodges callbacks. Hodges callbacks, him just churring away in her head every so often. And it's almost like a.
I'm glad you didn't sock him. I thought that sock was coming out again. Thought,
I did a bit as well. Oh, yes, this is going back to things that reoccurred. I didn't quite get why Thing 1 and Thing 2 reappeared.
What's Thing 1?
Didn't Brady have two remotes, and the remotes were called Thing 1 and Thing 2 to control?
Oh, are they in this?
Thing 1 and Thing 2, where Emily refers to Thing 1 and Thing 2 as two items that they need to do so. I can't remember exactly what they were, but there was Thing 1 and Thing 2. They only like appear twice in the book.
Was that a cheeky play on MacGuffin though? Was that her saying there's something we need to find, which is basically a MacGuffin, and she's sort of winking at us like it's not really important.
I don't think it was important. It's just odd.
Oh, okay. I don't pick up on that.
They called it Thing 1, Thing 2, and Brady called it Thing 1 and Thing 2. I was like, oh, that's a bit strange.
Was that maybe just a tie-in?
Yeah, possibly.
Just for the constant readers.
Yeah, a little nod, maybe. But it's just, so it was odd. Just felt a bit weird.
Like it's hinting at something, and you picked up on it and go, "Oh, I'm onto something here." Oh, it's a red herring.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that,
where are my notes?
What to say?
So, do you think this is his retirement now? I believe I was listening to someone talk about how he's already got his next Holly planned. He's just doing not a Miss Marple, but a Poirot. Like he's just going to be knocking out
Holly
individual like mystery novels.
Okay, no, I know he's got one coming up in May, a big chunky book, horror centric, I think. I don't think it's anywhere near close to retirement.
No, but I just mean like he's found something. He's found, like, was it you saying like he's found his Newcastle Rock, and it's just going to be like we're going to get a massive, not in a bad way, but like a dump of like Holly strikes again, the return of Holly, more Holly.
Yeah,
like from what I've seen, he had real fun writing this one.
Yes, yeah. I do believe. I think we're definitely going to get more Holly books. The fact that she picks up the phone at the end.
I feel like now she's a millionaire. She just, maybe it's like that thing of the branch. She's going to have an agency. I feel like she's going to start hiring out and taking on bigger cases because you can, it's a small case thing.
Possibly. I don't know. Yeah, his next one's If You Like It Darker, which is again a series of short stories.
Oh, okay, nice. Let's see what we have here.
May 21st, 2004.
I get, part of me did feel like we had a restructure of If It Bleeds.
Yes.
Like for some reason he was doing.
Doesn't he allude to that? Sorry, didn't he allude to that at the back as well?
He talks about the continuity. The back's mostly about COVID, and he says fans will, if you look at the timeline, COVID didn't exist in If It Bleeds when it should. It's just because of when it's written. If I could go back and write it, I would. But I guess what I mean is like there's a lot of Holly just going, I can't involve anyone else. I'm on my own here. And then her not being on her own and proven wrong by someone else. I think literally Barbara again saving her. Which is like, didn't you do this in If It Bleeds? Like I thought we let go of the whole, I'm on my own and I have no one and that's bad. But it's like, you said that last time and you tried to not involve people and you almost got them killed, but they ended up saving you. And it kind of happened again, no?
That is true. I don't think it was quite as strong front and center as it was in the If It Bleeds novel, or novella. But yeah, she still is that person, I guess. And maybe eventually she'll stop being that person, but it might not. It might take another book. I guess because it's only like a year or two apart, isn't it? Rather than it being.
That's what I was saying. It should technically be set in the Bangor COVID.
So yeah, I don't know how long does it take someone to stop feeling like they're on their own and move on.
Sure, but then it's a book he's writing. It's like, 10 books down the line.
Yeah,
married with kids. I'm all alone. Like, geez.
If it was 10 years, I would expect the first 4 books to have her dealing with pushing people away and eventually then learning to not push people away, and the last 6 books not to bring that back up again.
I mean, that's a lot, no? I don't know if I could do, like, if the next
if
2
it was
books...
over 10 years.
But if the next 2 books are like this, I'll probably start
it'll be
saying,
repetitive.
I'm fed up of her doing this I'm on my own thing when she's literally, at this point, put away, like, mass serial killers, vampires and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes with her next, I guess. Hopefully, it'll be a bit more back into the supernatural, because I do like Holly in a supernatural villain. I really see, of all the Holly stories, The Outsider was the best one for me. That was such a great novel. I love the Holly-centric ones.
I think that's the one that's going to last the longest. It's like, boom. I guess it's the most epic. I guess it's I guess he just went through his crime phase, no? Because that was 90%, well, 75% crime, and then it picks off. As was
really. But I guess thinking about it now, the fact that this book isn't supernatural, but she exists in a world where supernatural is a thing, lends itself to a diverse set of crime novels going forward. They don't always. He's now set a precedent that it's not always going to be a supernatural based Holly adventure. Like she doesn't have to be a Ghostbuster to solve crimes or a monster hunter to solve crimes. She can just hunt nasty human beings. But she can also hunt creatures that shapeshift and change into whatever they want to be. That's quite a cool universe to play in, I guess, going forward.
I guess, take it back to something you were saying earlier. It's not something I guess I want to deal with, but if you've lived your life and you have seen vampires and people with such strong PSD and the hypnotizing stuff, would you not be more sympathetic to the conspiracy theorists? And in fact, would you not become one? We were talking before about the whole Hillary-related conspiracy thing, what have you. Is it not more likely that our characters would become anti-vaxxers because they know the world isn't so straight and there are great big forces moving that are beyond the world's understanding, and the Men in Black, there's just shadowy forces here behind the scenes?
Yes, possibly. Or you could argue that they would double down on the things that have held true. So a trust in a medical service that has, by and large, not failed anyone, apart from, certain areas. But I can't think of.
I mean, sometimes it's just too big for the character. Like we said, it's like, I don't want this character to just be in a depressed, paranoid funk. So I'm just going to ignore it because, this is why they keep rebooting Spider-Man and Batman, because it's like, he's lost we've got to reboot it so he can be fun again. You can't go through all this mass trauma and be a fun, plucky high school kid. No. So if you want that plucky funness, we've got to reboot it before the trauma happened. We did too much to the poor guy. There's only so much one kid could take.
Before we break him, completely.
But overall, I'll give this a thumbs up. I don't think it's something I'm going to be like. There's passages. There's certainly nice parts. I think. You know what? Let me read you one. I think this is like one of my favorite. Like, wow, that was a. I think it's a little nod to the multitudes, which we love here at the Book by Book. This is regards to Barbara. There's a whole subplot where Barbara sort of she becomes like an old poet's protege, and she's taken under the wing, but that person is dying. And it just says, longtime teacher at Bell College of Arts and Sciences, mentor to Barbara Robinson, is indeed going. Marie stands on one side of her bed, Barbara on the other. They each hold one of the old poet's hands. There are no last words. Olivia looks at Marie. She looks at Barbara. She smiles. She dies. A world of words dies with her. I don't know. I thought that was like a really nice, just quiet, dignified. I guess within the context of the book, she's just dying of, I think, old age, or she's had good innings. I can't remember if
she's like the latter end of the 80s.
Those little I don't know. It does have those little sprinklings of like really beautiful dialogue. Something surprised me that was like, okay, he dealt with that, and it's kind of good. Was Barbara as a carry on from End of Watch is still sort of dealing with her place in the world, being like upper middle class and black, in what she feels comfortable with, what she doesn't feel comfortable with, and how that's reflected in her poetry and what's her voice. It's not a massive part to play in the book. It's just character development. But it felt particularly nice, I guess. As I've always said, King can just really I don't know, sometimes the subplots are like for me in Cujo, the drama around the main story was more more intriguing to me than the main character run, plot run, I guess.
Yeah, she definitely did go through a nice sort of development period in this book, Barbara.
I guess Jerome, like she stepped in where Jerome stepped back.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I liked that. I did like that. But I think she needed that as well. After what had happened to her in If It Bleeds, she did need to sort of have some redemption arc, not redemption arc, but, rebuild.
What becomes of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
I do like the fact that Holly's a millionaire now as well. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I guess
but what did you think
they
of the running
put that
joke?
to bed. I guess that's been a long running thing about her relationship with her mum. And I guess it's put to bed now.
Yeah, I mean, she's going to churtle away in the back of her mind, continuously throughout the books that come after this one. I don't think that's
I would be hoping that this is something that's put to bed. I know in real life it's not, the trauma carries on, but like we're saying, like some stuff you don't want to drag on because it's like, I think what's left to grow, right? Like, do we want another book where she's talking about her mum in the background?
I think her mum's going to become the anti-Bill, but like the voice in angel on the angel on her shoulders. Yeah. Not overly overbearing, overbearing in the sense that she was, and that's how she's become what she is now. A voice that tells her negative things, like she's the face of the negative chatter you have in your brain, basically.
Like it's like she's going to be having a rough day and get drunk, and she'll have a literal conversation with her mum in present time or something.
But I don't think it'll be heavy-handed in any way. I hope.
So a thumbs up from Toby by the sounds of it. I think a thumbs up from me.
I would give it a thumb sway, not a fully up, not fully down, a man between the middle.
I mean, it's pretty
towards the up.
For me, it's high up on the Holly ranking. Probably on the outside. I think I preferred this to any of the Hodges trilogy.
Oh right, wow, okay, that's a surprise.
I guess it got stuck in. Not to go over it again, but I guess the Beale ones were just, I don't know, there's undetailed beach reads, not in a bad way, but this one, it felt like it got stuck in.
Right.
I'm sure to some people it got too stuck in. Like, you'll stay focused on the case because we're here for the crime. Give us the crime. There's a girl, there's like a high school girl reading poetry for 100 pages. I don't need that.
So what about your ratings? How would you rate the Holly 6 books, 5 books that we have now? Where would you put?
3 out of 4, 4 out of 5.
But stack wise, would you go Mercedes, Finders Keepers?
From the top up, probably the outsider, my favorite. Then If It Bleeds, Finders Keepers. What's the End of Watch is at the bottom. If It Bleeds, it's hard to dislike it because it's so short. It's like it didn't irritate me because it was so short. It was just, I think, as we've said, there's a whole episode on that. Listener, check back on our thoughts. So those two sort of equally, I guess. Mr. Mercedes. Mrs. Mercedes probably above If It Bleeds. Definitely end of Watch at the bottom. I think the more I think about it, the more I dislike that.
Yeah, I would go outside Mercedes, End of Watch, Holly, If It Bleeds,
Finders Keepers. Fair enough. I reckon I would have predicted that for you, give or take. Yeah. Nice.
I'm here for more Holly though, so keep going, King.
Like outside of, I know what you're going to say, like, get what you're given and shut up. He's a 75-year-old writer, so we're lucky to get anything. I mean, if it came down to like, hey, listeners, here's a poll. You want something new, or you want some Holly? I personally, I'd go for new.
Yeah, I would go for new too.
But it's King. We're going to read whatever he does. He's literally at the stage where he has us eating out of his palm, for better or worse.
Yeah, definitely. But I do. Do you think he has another stand in him?
No. I think he probably has something at length. I think this, I think some of the books he wrote, like the fairy tale, felt like it was going to be that length. Like, God, he's just meandering. But that's like his third book now.
Yeah.
Like that, you have to let go of the past. I think he probably has another Holly in him. I think he has another. What's the level I'm thinking of?
Under the Dome. That was small stand length, isn't
it? I don't think we're going to get an epic out of him.
No.
I think he's too conscious of the time he has left. Personally, it feels like he would rather get something out and move on.
Yeah.
And if you're a film like Ridley Scott is doing now, he's just pounding them out, and the quality is like he's happy with them, but it's like we're seeing the disintegrative quality in his filmmaking. And I think King like that is just, I don't know, he doesn't want to stop, and I don't think he will. But I think something like that, 1,000-page epic. It's not just the length. Like Holly easily could have been 1,000 pages. It was okay, not easily, but it's King. He can ramble. He could have given us another 200 pages just for Joan and other side characters that are nice but don't go anywhere. We know he has that ability. So lengthwise, I'm sure maybe we will get another 1,000-page book. I guess 11, 22, 63 isn't crazy old.
No, that's very true. Yeah,
but will we get another epic in the meaning of the word epic, like multi-strands, multi-story, epic time? I don't see it, but I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
I guess Sleeping Beauty is supposed to be a big epic. I haven't read it. I don't know much about it. But that wasn't crazy long ago. I know it's co-written, but nonetheless, I'll take it.
It's a shame we're not going to get the third of the Pale Talisman, Black House.
Did he officially declared it?
Well, Peter Straub died, didn't he?
Oh, okay. I mean, he could take it on his own. He stepped away for the Gwendy trilogy and then came back.
Yeah, true.
I guess I don't know if he has any ideas. I don't know if he's like him being a pantser. It's just, I don't know how he plans. I don't know if he's spoken openly about there was a plan with this other writer so he can follow those bones.
Yeah, possibly. I guess that's what Neil Gaiman's doing with Good Omens, isn't it? Since the passing of Terry Pratchett.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Which I just as a side note, I'm really enjoying season 2 of Good Omens.
Oh, nice. I need to read the book again. I just feel like the show switched the main character. I remember the book being more about the boy and the two angels being in and out, but side characters.
Yeah.
Whereas the show, if memory serves, switched it. So, but I read it so long ago, I don't really remember if I just missed out on it. I think it's being an immature kid trying to read something that would just sort of the nuance went over my head, or like, no, that's sarcastic. I'm skipping over sarcasm, which changes the context so much.
But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying that. Season 2, about halfway through.
Nice. Listeners, like and subscribe if you're so inclined. Let us know your thoughts on Holly.
Yes, indeed. And just before we finish, Lana really enjoyed Die Hard 1, sorry.
I kind of want to get in it. Yeah?
Yeah, she enjoyed it. We watched it in 2 parts because we started it quite late on Christmas Eve and then we finished it on Christmas Day. She did really enjoy it. I think the age of it kind of showed for her. She knew she was watching a very old film, but she asked to watch the second half by herself.
Oh, wow.
The next day. So she was like, "Can we finish Die Hard because I would like to watch the rest of it?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, cool. Let's do it."
I see what you mean. I thought you meant watch it by myself, like totally leave the room.
No.
Stop taking photos of me watching Die Hard.
Yeah, she actively asked me to put it on so that we could finish it. So that was a good sign, I think.
Yeah, well, nice. Didn't get squeamish with the bloody flag.
It's not a Christmas movie. Apparently, according to Lana, it's not a Christmas movie. So we had a big falling out.
From the mouths of babies, Toby, they know the two innocent to lie.
Just disappointed you're no daughter of mine.
Nice.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us. Till next time, listeners, have a good rest of your month.
We're going to wrap it up around there. I want to thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. Join us again next episode, and until then, support your local bookstores and have a great day.